Hey guys, it's me, Seren, back with another video. As you can see, I have my dark wall behind me. Um, while we've been in quarantine, I painted my room. This is space gray. It looks kind of black, but it's more of like a dark gray color. I don't know if I'm going to continue to film in here because I don't really know how it's going to look. You guys can let me know if you like this or if you don't like it. I have another space that I can film that it's more of like my standard white wall. You guys know that I prefer to film in front of a white wall, but I just wanted to test it out and see how I felt filming in front of this new wall. This is going to be a non-review of the Madam C.J. Walker limited run series that they have right now on Netflix. A lot of you guys were asking me if I was going to watch it and if I was going to review it. It's very limited. It's only 4 episodes. Madam C.J. Walker is played by Octavia Spencer, who I absolutely love. I said, while I'm in lockdown, let me start watching it, give it a chance so that I can do a review. I'm not going to be reviewing it. Longtime subscribers know that, there's some shit that I just won't review. I start it and I just can't finish it. Or I just can't bring myself to review it. You guys know I wouldn't review some stuff by Donald Glover. You guys know I won't review anything by Issa Rae. There's just some things I won't review. I started watching this. I was 20 minutes in. I literally had to cut it off. So I have a serious issue with the portrayal of Annie Malone in this Madam C.J. Walker self-made limited run series on Netflix. Last year, as some of you guys may know, I did a Hidden Figures on Annie Malone. I will include a link to that in the description box. So this was way before this Netflix show even came about. I did a Hidden Figures on Annie Malone, and Annie Malone was a really, really, really incredible woman that did a lot for the Black community. And it's so fictionalized, it's so fictitious to the point of being offensive. Again, like I said, I'll be including a link to my Hidden Figures, and I'll also be including some links for some other information on Annie Malone, but I'm just going to read you guys a little bit of information about her. Annie Malone was an amazing woman, and aside from the Annie Malone stuff, I'm going to get into some other things that I didn't particularly care for, but Annie Malone was a really incredible woman. She was a child of slaves, and I kind of took offense of this fictionalized portrayal of her, Addie Monroe, who was colorist, classist, fat-shaming Madam C.J. Walker, who was really a cartoon Disney villain. They kind of implied that she was a mulatto. She kept calling Sarah Breedlove colored. In real life, Annie Malone was actually the child of slaves, 2 slaves. And I don't know, I felt like they went out of their way to sort of write this story with these 2 Black women butting heads and, pitting them against each other instead of sort of describing. Annie Malone was also, became a multimillionaire off of her hair care formula. Annie Malone and Madam C.J. Walker both became some of the first Black American multimillionaires, in the United States. Obviously, we all know Madam C.J. Walker, and they needed her to sort of be the main character, I guess, and of course they needed some type of villain, but it just seemed really inappropriate to turn Annie Malone, who was a real person that really did get Sarah Breedlove into hair care. Annie Malone was also a chemist, which is how she actually came up with her formula. All of that was kind of glossed over. We didn't really see any of that, we didn't really see. She actually did employ Sarah Breedlove. The series shows that she doesn't want to allow her to sell because she's dark skinned and fat and all this other stuff, but none of that is what happened in real life. And I understand that it's a fictionalized account, but I feel like they most likely have to change her name because these were getting into outright lies. And Annie Malone was a great person that did a lot for the Black community. I don't like that. And I don't like the fact that for this fictionalized portrayal where they obviously felt like they needed to make up a villain, they decided to go with the storyline of putting Black women against each other. I didn't care for that. And also to sort of pit, as time went on, Black women against Black men. We see that her husband beating on her. These are not things that happened in real life. It just seemed like there was a lot of creative license used to sort of play on this idea of dysfunction within the Black American community for drama. And I also felt like there was a lot of these are the topics that are hot right now, mulatto, biracial, colorism, fat shaming, these are topics that people are talking about now, so let's find a way to sort of like shoehorn it in. And I didn't really like that. There was also like some weird choices made with like showing them literally like in a boxing ring, like literally putting these two black women like head to head, like we gonna fight. Whoa, why? What's the point of that? So just gonna read you guys a little bit. The fictional Addie Monroe, is based on Annie Malone, a beauty pioneer and a self-made millionaire herself. Self-Made, a new miniseries on Netflix, is really the story of two self-made millionaires. Sarah Walker, who made a fortune with her Madame C.J. Walker hair products, is the focal point of the show. However, Walker only got into that industry by working for Annie Malone, another successful hair care entrepreneur who may have become a millionaire before Walker. In the dramatized Netflix series, Annie Malone's character is renamed Addie Monroe, and while she appears in all 4 episodes of Self-Made, she's constantly in Disney villain mode. She spends her time devising increasingly complicated plots to thwart Walker's growing empire. And this didn't happen in real life. The worst sin of all, Addie refused to recognize that when one black woman succeeded, she lifted up other black women. So does Addie match up to her real life inspiration? Not at all. Self-Made fails to tell Malone's full story, which is also one of a self-made millionaire using her platform to champion other black women. Annie Malone was the child of former slaves born in Illinois, and basically after exceeding in chemistry, she made up her own hair care product, which was called Wonderful Hair Grower. Again, I did a full Hidden Figures on Annie Malone that I really encourage you all to watch. In 1902, Malone moved to St. Louis, Missouri with the help of 2 assistants. She sold products door to door. One of her first employees was Sarah Breedlove, who then went on to become Madame C.J. Walker. In 1906, Malone trademarked her company's name, Poro, which was way more than just a beauty company. In 1918, Malone established Poro Beauty College, the first cosmetology school specializing in black hair. She had 175 employees and launched many more careers. After studying at Poro College, women started their own beauty shops and businesses, making Malone a major avenue for social mobility, as black women were barred from all work but domestic labor in St. Louis at the time. Poro College was more than a beauty school. It was a center of community activity, per a 1926 booklet called Poro in Pictures. Poro College's complex, estimated to have cost $500,000, housed classrooms, a factory, sewing rooms, barbershops, dining halls, a gymnasium, bakery, chapel, roof garden, and a 500-seat auditorium. The Poro family, as the community was called, offered social activities and classes for members as well as provided welfare. After a tornado devastated St. Louis in 1927, Poro College became a rescue center that sheltered, clothed, and fed 5,000 people in need. She donated to Howard University, Tuskegee Institute, St. Louis Pine Street YMCA, and the St. Louis Colored Children's Home, which bears her name today. She also extended the same generosity to her employees, giving diamond rings to agents and rewarding them with savings and cash rewards. And this includes her relationship that she had with Sarah Breedlove, Madame C.J. Walker. And as the two were actually really, really close, and she really did sort of get her up on her feet until Madame C.J. Walker decided to branch out on her own. Now, according to actual historians, Madame C.J. Walker took the Poro formula and turning it into her own thing, which was a huge part of why Annie Malone even trademarked the name Poro, okay? So depending on even who you believe, Madame C.J. Walker could be considered the villain that fucking stole it. But even if you don't want to get into that, it's just like very ugly to me the way that they sort of really fictionalized this account and made a villain out of Annie Malone, who by all accounts was a wonderful person. Also, as we always say, you know, the victor is the one that writes history, and Self-Made is based off of a book that was written by a descendant of Madame C.J. Walker, so I kind of feel like, of course, they're going to portray it in their own light, but again, there are tons of historical articles that you can look up. Again, I'm going to include links and information in the description box. Like, Annie Malone was not some villain. I'm not going to say that Madame C.J. Walker was some villain either. Like, that's up to you what you want to personally believe. But it's like, Madame C.J. Walker got her name blasted all over history, and Annie Malone, who did a lot as well for the black community, is kind of like left in the dust as, you know, now we're watching this show that's kind of from biased source material that was written by a direct descendant of Madam C.J. Walker. Like, of course they're going to write whatever they want to make their ancestor look good, you know? I don't know. I don't like it. It rubbed me the wrong way. It left a bad taste in my mouth. And if you guys, again, watch my video or learn more about Annie Malone, she also donated what in today's money would be millions of dollars to Black American communities, to Black YMCA organizations, to Black youth. She taught Black people about how to dress, how to get ready for interviews. You know, she really was a pillar of the Black American community. They have streets named after her, and I really find it offensive that they reduced her to this villainized caricature. And I just feel like it's playing into a lot of stereotypes. We got into a discussion about it on Discord, and I'm going to read you guys some of the commentary that we were having. So I said in Discord, finally getting around to watching this Madam C.J. Walker series on Netflix, and whoa, they did Annie Malone dirty as fuck. I don't like that. I kind of want to quit watching. Octavia is really good, which she was. Really high production value. The show looks great to look at. The costumes are really good. The acting is really good. I just didn't like the story. They took extreme liberties with what actually happened. I bet they did have to change her name to Addie Monroe because it's so fictionalized. Annie Malone did a hell of a lot for the Black community, and they did Annie wrong. This portrayal of her is kind of offensive. It just seems kind of crappy to set up this fake storyline with this acrimony between these two Black women and then throw in colorism to boot when all of this is false. Like, why? Why not just show them as they really were? And I was replied, it's nickel. The only way that my mind can try to justify this is because the storytellers maybe want to highlight internalized issues that Black Americans have. I want to like this so bad, but I admit that the historical inaccuracy against the Black American story about actual people cannot be overlooked. Like, the point of us getting our own stories told by us is because white supremacy has made it their mission to overlook and or tell historical lies about our history. So it's like, if we're going to be making our own shit and still lying, that's not what's up. And I said, I like that they're telling the story. I just feel like the story as it is interesting. Madam C.J. Walker got into hair care through Annie Malone, and they both went on to become multimillionaire Black women in their own rights. That's dope. It would have been cool to see a series where their storylines unfolded together. But yeah, I guess they do need Madam C.J. Walker to be the main character. And it's fictionalized, so there needs to be a villain, but it's just leaving a bad taste in my mouth. It's almost giving me Black women can't get along vibes if we're going to make up a villain, which they basically did. They made up a villain. Why not make up some hating-ass white woman or something? And then Nicole was like, you know there was a hating-ass white woman somewhere. Like, if we're just going to be taking fictional liberties, like, why put these two Black women against each other? Like, for what? If the colorism, classism, fat-shaming, elitism didn't happen in real life and there's no evidence that it did, why put it in there? It also kind of comes across like trying to put relevant topics in. And I also felt that way about a lot of other stylistic choices that they made. Like I said, the boxing ring, a lot of the music choices, it felt a lot like trying to make it young and hip and cool for the kids and trying to put relevant ideas and topics somewhere that maybe they don't really belong, you know? Like, oh, we're gonna have them boxing. Why are they in a fucking modern day boxing ring? Like, why? What's the point of that? Why? Like, I don't know. And I'm really also over the use of like the contemporary or like the modern day music with like the old stories. Like, it's played out now. It's played the fuck out. Let's find a new quirk to use to make our movies seem fucking interesting and like Black hipster shit, because that shit's played out. They threw in elitism, all types of things that Annie Malone did not do in real life. They also kind of implied that Addie/Annie was mulatto. She kept calling Sarah colored. In real life, Annie Malone was a child of slaves, and that's a known fact. And then Queen, hi Queen, said in Discord, then they had Malone speaking about her younger workers in a way like they're so clueless and dumb. And I said, when in real life, Sarah Breedlove was a seller for Annie Malone, she never banned her from selling. She never talked bad about her sellers. She was known for being really good to her workers. Like, they literally just like flip shit on its head. Just really weird choices to make this woman, this Black woman, the bad guy. Just to make this Black American woman seem bad and put these Black American women against each other. Like, why? Also, as Queen pointed out, Annie Malone, who was a child of slaves in real life, was portrayed by Carmen Ejogo. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. It's either Ejogo or Egojo. Let me know. Who is not a Black American. So it's like, We made her the bad guy. We don't even have a Black American, a descendant of American chattel slavery playing her. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing? Also, I may be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure Carmen Ejogo also played Coretta Scott King in Selma or in one of these other movies. Like, she's just working her way through the Black American figures. Again, like kind of what was talked about in Discord. Part of why Black Americans are trying to get into making our own, stories is because we're trying to combat historical lies and fictionalized accounts about us. Just because we ourselves are perpetuating them lies, that doesn't make it any better. We should be trying to do the best we can to really portray ourselves as we really are. And all different, Black people throughout the diaspora should be trying to do the same thing. I think that's really important. I'm going to keep trying to drill that motherfucking message home. So, yeah. But as I talked about in my podcast when I was on the Question Lane, shout out to the Question Lane. If you guys haven't seen that podcast, please check it out. He had talked about how, we have these, even though the story itself was written by a Black woman, we have these white casting directors, or, we get in bed with Netflix, which is white-owned company. And I said in the podcast, I was like, it's because we don't really, I don't want to say that we don't believe that we can finance things ourselves and do things ourselves, but we want that safety net. We want that safety net, that major backing of a Netflix, that major monetary financing of a Netflix. And so that's, I think, how you end up with a lot of these choices in something that's supposed to be, so positive representation, for Black Americans. And then you get into a situation when it's really not. It's just sort of like wrapping up more problematic storylines and fictionalizing of real people, real Black American stories, making it into something that it's not for entertainment purposes only. I'm not with it. So, I don't know. I'm not going to finish it. I'm sorry to everyone that wanted me to review it. I did start it. I did try. But y'all know if I'm not feeling it, I don't have to finish the shit sandwich. And I won't be finishing it. So, that's what I thought. Shout-outs to Shantavia Nia. Shout-outs to Nia, who was in an episode of the Black Americans in New York, though, because she actually sent me a really good documentary on Madam C.J. Walker that you can watch. It's about 50 minutes, and it actually includes interviews with people that were there that worked with both her and Annie Malone and were close to both of them. And I highly recommend that you guys check it out. I will also include that in the description box as well. But I'm just not feeling this. I'm not feeling these hyper fictionalized. Everything is fictionalized in one way or another. If it's a movie or a TV show, if it's not a documentary, obviously if it's narrative fiction, it's going to be fictionalized. But I'm really over this hyper fictionalization of real Black American people, real Black American figures, turning us into these cartoon Disney villains or these cartoon Disney fucking superheroes, not being portrayed by Black Americans. I feel like people are making a mockery and a joke out of us and our history. We in a boxing ring, we have this modern day music. I don't like it. I just don't like it. I'm not feeling it, Sorry. So, that's what I thought. But that as always, see you guys next time. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Peace.